Hey guys, what's up, and welcome to another episode of Crew Call. We got a great guest for you today. My buddy Greg Mahler is here, and so without further ado, we'll get right into the show. So let's bring in Greg. Greg, thank you for joining me today, sir.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
So I haven't seen you in it's been a couple years now, I think. Snow Globe was probably the last one.
Yeah.
So
What has that been? That's probably been 4 years?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a while. And I think that was
That's
before you had your full-time job, right?
Yes. So
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
probably closer to 5 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I moved to Nashville about 4 years ago. So. Yeah.
Okay. Right on. So you're in Nashville now.
Correct. Yeah. I'm
Nice.
Nashville based.
Cool. Very cool. So, my regular cookie cutter questions kind of to start the show are kind of, how did you get started in production and kind of what path did you take?
Well, I always like to tell people that I drove the short straw when I got into this business. But to be honest with you, it's been a great job and a great business to be in. Originally, I started 20-some years ago when I was in high school. To be honest, I got my first job when I was 16 years old. Prior to that, I was working in our theatrical department, and we had a radio station called KXHV. It's amazing I actually remember all that. But we had a radio station there. Thought I wanted to be a disc jockey. Turned out I wasn't very good at that. But I was good at the technical stuff. So I started working with the technical supervisor there that kind of managed the station, and he got me into the theater side of it. I started doing audio and theater. Actually, I think I started in Spotlight, and then I went into an audio position after that. He introduced me into a audio company, a local regional company in Sacramento, California, and I got a job with them when I turned 16 as soon as I could drive. So I was working after school and on weekends. They taught me kind of how to do monitor mixing, and then I started doing a lot of gigs on the weekends. And as soon as I graduated high school, I looked into going into wholesale or some sort of schooling like that. Kind of opted out of that and just kind of decided to just keep working in the industry. So I stayed with that company for a little while. And then kind of jumped from there, just kind of blossomed. And then, so I started doing a little bit of on the road gigs. My first official tour was Champions on Ice. So it was a figure skating tour with Olympic skaters. It was an interesting gig to say the least. But it was kind of a one-man crew position. So I was crew chief, front of house engineer, the whole 9 yards, PA tech, everything. We carried, a 360 DV rig with subs in the whole 9 yards, flow amp racks. Just at the center, nice big center cluster. So it was pretty cool. And that was my real first touring act. I later moved to Southern California from Sacramento and took on, started getting jobs with another company, Rat Sound. And they kind of threw me out into the wild. I went into Warped Tour, did a couple years of that, and next thing I know, that kind of paved my way of audio touring for the next 15 years.
Yeah, people think there's such like a defined path. Like people outside the industry think like, oh well, you're gonna go here and you do this, and then you go to the school and then you go do this, and it's really not like that at all. It is really much more about networking and making those connections to figure out where your next job's going to come from. And
Absolutely.
I think
networking is very important.
Yeah, I think a lot of people who don't have anything to do with the industry don't really realize that. And even in times like these, when you think you're diversified and you can jump on another tour or jump on something else, like sometimes it all goes away.
Yeah.
So
you learn that those skills are not as transferable as you thought they were.
Right. Exactly. So tell me a little bit about what you're doing now.
So I've kind of bounced around over the last couple of years. I did a fair number of jobs, but I jumped into an account management, account executive role for the last year, for a company called LMG. We have a touring division out there, and it's been a great ride. I've really really enjoyed it. The things I've learned have been fantastic. I was doing some project management work before that, and prior to that, I was doing some work as a audio manager, what they called it. Basically, it was head of warehousing kind of stuff for a large company. So, yeah.
So what exactly what does an account executive do specifically
Well,
in the AV world?
in the AV world, okay. So an account executive is the liaison between the client and the company, more or less. We're more or less what you would call a sales representative, as a shortened version of it. We maintain and work with our clients. We negotiate the contracts. We negotiate the gear. We price it, quote it, and basically work with a team of people that we take their ideas and run with them. They may offer something up to us and say, "Hey, Greg, I got this gig. Can you take a look at my drawings? What do you think we're going to do?" They may have an idea of most of the stuff, and then like, "Is this a possibility?" And so I'll take it to my team, and we'll go over it and look at it and say, "Yeah, we can do that," or "Here, let's change this. This will give you the same effect you're looking for," and that'll create it. And then we'll go into bidding processes after that. And then once the bid is confirmed, then we become the point person for the client, to the crew while it's getting constructed. Basically, up until the point that they are now have a crew under them working for them. And if anything comes up, where they got to manage crew wise, if there's an issue on the crewing situation or something like that, or heaven forbid, we actually had a bus accident situation this year, then you become that kind of point person that kind of helps run with that situation and just kind of makes adjust stuff. So there's a lot of responsibility. Basically, it's anything having to do with the account, the gear, and the crew, you're overseeing it from the beginning to the very end.
And are you on show site at all, or maybe the first, if it's a tour, maybe the first couple stops or something, or are you seeing the venues much?
Yeah, typically what we would do in our position, we would go out to the preps, and we would start at prep level, and jump out there, go in for handful day, 3-4 days of prep, however long it takes. Sometimes it's a week-long prep, but most of them are 3-4 days at most, 3 to 4 to 5. And you go out there and help lead the crew through the directions of what they need to do. Start on site there. Often the client will come in and either bring in an LD or a VD or A1, A2, whatever. I went from an audio guy, now sell everything. So
Yeah.
we so you start from there. Sometimes the production manager or tour manager will come in and for a day or two kind of look over everything and just kind of work with you on it. And then from there, I typically go into a rehearsals. If there's a rehearsal base, I'll show up for rehearsals for a few days, and or just head right into the tour, depending on the type of production, whether or not they skip the rehearsal base. And then usually go in for the first show, at least minimum. Usually try to catch back out there again mid-tour if possible, if its schedule aligns, to kind of get a second viewing and see how everything's been progressing. Naturally we keep in contact throughout the tour and just make sure the client's okay. And usually there's conversation of like, "Hey, I need this," or everything's going well over here, so we keep those going. But just jump back out there, check it out again, and usually that's about the out. So there's it's short travel. It's sometimes it's just a night or two, depending on how the schedule works. Always trying to find those shortest plane hops and simplify life, because there is a fair amount of travel involved in this job. So it's in trying to balance multiple tours at the same time is kind of chaotic.
Absolutely.
I'll spend 3 weeks jumping between 3 or 4 tours and just go
Yeah.
ping, 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 ping.
Absolutely.
Depending on the schedule.
So what made you decide to switch from, because you were more A1 system tech type stuff before, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what made you want to do more of the, account management type stuff?
I've always wanted to expand my career. I've never really been, I really liked doing system engineering, system teching, A1 level. But I always wanted to expand beyond that. And I went into a project management level. I started working my way up, and the opportunity just kind of came up. Honestly, did not think that I was going to ever really find myself in a sales position necessarily. But it turns out that I actually really enjoy it. I enjoy working with the clients. I enjoy the working with the ideas. There's a little bit of creativity that comes along with it. It's not necessarily like creating your design, but I am helping you get the implementation of that design going. So I get to use my brain and come up with some interesting ideas along with the rest of the team. And I like that. It's a puzzle to me. And there's always a lot of challenges in that, and I thoroughly enjoy those type of things. And yeah, that's I never imagined that would be where I land in my job, but it's been a great ride, a great spot to be in.
Well, and I feel like a lot of the salespeople, and maybe it's different in the AV industry, but I feel like a lot of salespeople don't necessarily know the technical side of it or have come from the technical background. So I think that's got to be really beneficial to go in and actually, okay, here's what you're looking for. Oh, I know these speakers and I know all this stuff and I know how all of that works together, from the front end of it.
I agree. Having a technical background, is a very important aspect to it. I don't think it's the final aspect to it. There's a lot of building blocks that come into account management. Everything from, just running social media and and interacting and along with the technical side. If you're losing one or the other, it's a challenge. You got to find a nice even balance in that situation. I do believe that it is very helpful having the technical skills behind me and the understanding in the industry to be able to say, hey, here's something that makes sense. We could do this, and if we do that, it gets you this, and I know that's going to be a winning point for you. You're going to really like if you save a bunch of money over there because I can make this a better deal for you over here.
Right.
So it's understanding the industry, I think, is a very, very important thing, and understanding what it is you're ultimately trying to do from a technical or any sort of point of view is super important.
For sure. And I know there's probably a couple people who will watch this who know me pretty well and know that even when I'm not in charge of a project, I care a lot about the overall picture. Yeah. So even as just a video person, I'll jump in and, try and manage whatever I can. And sometimes that irritates people, certainly, but that's the way my brain works too, is I see the big picture and I know what has to get done and all that. So yeah. I feel like I'm kind of trending towards more of a project management job eventually for myself too. So it's good to hear from you and hear your perspective on it. And I'm always trying to learn as much as I can about any other department aside from my own and just understand how they all work together, because I think that's super important.
Yeah, I think it definitely takes this industry in general takes drive and ambition and the go-getter attitude. And, having the go-getter attitude really can help you get to that next step. As long as you're not overstepping on toes too much.
Sure.
It's always one of my challenges to not step on too many toes while still trying to achieve what we needed to achieve.
Absolutely. And my intent is always good. I mean, I care about the project and I want it to be good. And most of the companies I work for are usually one-stop shops that handle all the other departments, so it usually isn't too big of an issue. But if I was working for just a video company, I could see how that would definitely be an issue. And I would know my place and know to not overstep that too, certainly. So you talked a little bit about when you started out in high school and at the theater and all that kind of stuff, about some people helping you kind of get started. Tell me a little bit about any mentors or people that have really helped kind of shape your career throughout it.
So I would say I've had definitely a few mentors in there. My first immediate mentors would have been in high school, which would have been my teacher, Mr. Peckham, and Thor Tivell. Mr. Peckham was the media production. Media production is what it was titled, teacher. And he oversaw the entire radio station along with trying to get you to think outside the box. which was a very interesting concept that, we were literally holding classes of how to think outside the box. So it worked really well in this industry. But he also, taught you all kinds of technical stuff. And then, Thor Tivel, who was very much being the technical, guru there, and overseeing the radio station, all that, without him, I would not have, been able to, learn the stuff I needed to learn. He really kind of took a hold of me, and, a bunch of other people, and he helped us. He showed us, he was happy to teach us and let us help him and be hands-on. I mean, we were rewiring consoles and stuff like that. You'd have to do, they were crimping pins, and you'd have to do these crimp blocks in them, and, help rebuild the stuff. And he was like, here, have it, crimp one, good, finish the rest, So I'm sure he's pawning off some of his work at the same time, but that was our learning. So it was great to us. I would say those are some of my first mentors. And then I would probably have to go, I learned a lot from, Keith Wackford, who was the manager at Associated Sound in Sacramento. And he took me in with minimal, experience, and really showed me how to work everything. So, he did a great job of helping me learn how to mix monitors, helping me learn how to, patch a stage and understand all of that. I mean, I basically went in there with, I understand how to do some basic patching. I know which end of the microphone works. I know how to turn auxes and understand matrices. But outside of that, it was like, how do you mix a band? Okay, well, let me show you. And he's like, here, grab the fader and run with it. And so that was nice. He gave me an opportunity to mix bands, both front house and monitors. So, yeah, I guess those would probably be my, they were great mentors. And that's what it takes. I mean, you got to teach people.
Absolutely. And I've always, like, if I'm on a show or on a tour or whatever, and I have stagehands come up and ask me questions, like, I welcome that. I think, there's lots of people in the industry who don't necessarily have that same mentality or same attitude about things, and maybe they're insecure and they don't want to share their information because they think you're going to take their job or whatever it may be. I am more than happy to tell anyone anything they want to know. You want to come sit behind me and watch me do it, like that. I'm totally cool with that, because I think that's a very important thing. And I know I'm not the best teacher, certainly, but I will help in whatever way I can. And I think in all the people I've talked to on this show so far, there's definitely an underlying, a recurring theme with mentors of, it's just someone who took a chance on me. We all had to start somewhere. We all had to start with, little experience in order to get experience. And so I think a lot of the people that I've talked to who have really strong mentors, it's always been that person who took a chance. Maybe they took a chance on me in a totally different position, or maybe they took a chance on me just with limited experience. And whichever way it came from, that's the important thing. And I think that's something that we should look at as we become mentors for other people. And, we can take a chance on someone else too at some point in our careers and pass that along as well. So I think that's a super cool thing to be able to do. So you've worked on a lot of projects, and has there been any projects that really stood out as some of your favorite events, favorite projects to work on, or anything like that?
Man, that's a tough one right there. Favorite projects. You know what? Let me think about that for a second. Sorry, that doesn't. No, I've had a lot of really good projects, and I've had a lot of really rough projects. And then, some of them you look at and you're like, man, I couldn't wait for that one to be done. And then you're like, that was really awesome, in the grand scheme of it. It's and then you get in this mental fight of like, did I like it? Did I not like it? I'd do it again,
Right. Well, and I think there's always something to gain from every project. It may not be your most favorite project, but I learned how to do this, or I think that's something like you can't necessarily always pinpoint, oh, that was my favorite project because of this. I enjoyed doing that for whatever reason. And I'm in the same boat as you. Like, there's a lot of projects that I really liked being a part of, but I don't know that I can necessarily pinpoint specific projects, because we love what we do. So we like all projects in some respect most of the time.
Yeah. I
So
can pinpoint a lot of moments in this project, a lot of moments in projects that I go, oh man, that was super awesome, and I'd be all happy to talk about that. But can I
yeah,
say the whole project was something that was like epic? Like, I don't know if that's a hard one. There's
for sure.
always the pluses and minuses. Uh,
Absolutely.
so yeah, I don't really like to focus too much on one.
All good, all good. What is it about your job that you enjoy the most? I know you talked about you really like dealing with clients now, and you're on a totally different side of the spectrum than you were before. So, um, just I assume that's where you're going to go, but maybe there's a different part of your project that you like, or different part of your job that you like the best now.
I would say my absolute favorite thing is, and as weird as it sounds, it's putting out fires. When something comes up, and you have to rush to figure out how to make it work. That's my favorite thing. And whether or not I'm on the phone call end, or if I'm there on site or something like that, and you're like, man, this seemed great in the shop, and then you get to real world and you throw automation at it, and you're like, ooh, that didn't work out. Okay, now we're figuring that out. But I'm that guy that gets on there and I'll jump up on that truss and start working on it. Like I just get dirty and do it. Because there's ultimately we need to get to a resolve on it, and we'll find something. We'll find a way to make fix whatever it is. But it's really, I call it the putting out of fires. Is really it. It's challenging. It's high energy. It's go go go. It's figure it out. And how do you do it instantaneously? And I love watching a group of people come together, and just nail it. You work in unison, and it's just bang, 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 and everybody's got their job, and they're like, I got this, I got this, I got this, and then the next thing you know, it all comes together. And you're like, we're good, right? And it's resolved, and it like they're like minds are blown, because it's out of our control, but we fix it.
And honestly, that's my same answer to that question as well. I like the chaos of that. And I mean it's
Yeah,
controlled chaos because,
controlled.
ultimately I like being in control of finding the solution to it. And, I've thought throughout my career of, okay, well, I could take a theater job at one place or something like that, and it's like, but that's not what I like. I like building something from scratch every time and troubleshooting and find, like, I don't want there to be problems, certainly, but when there
Sure.
is, I thrive in that moment and under pressure, and that is my favorite part about the job I do too, is just troubleshooting those problems and being under pressure to troubleshoot the problems.
Yeah. There's nothing like having an artist and management staring you down, going, "It's not going to get resolved before tonight because we got millions on the line." We got you. I'm
Exactly.
with you. And I've been, the guy in those trenches being just under fire, and I've been on the management side being under fire, and you know, you never want it to happen, but it's inevitable. Gear
It
breaks,
is.
things happen, and it's not always in your control, and you just got to run with the punches. We know that this is a fast moving industry of, when it's moving,
Right.
but it's fast moving, and things happen, and we try to mitigate obviously we don't want people injured and stuff like that. So hopefully that's always our last thought, and our first question that always comes up: was anybody injured? Because that's the most important thing. Make sure nobody's
Sure.
injured. But if something, when something comes up, then it's just next step is, okay, how do we fix it? How do I get you, entire truss worth a year tomorrow,
Right.
or
Exactly.
within 2 shows, so you can get back on the road and moving again, because of whatever happened.
Exactly. So you
It's
travel
a
a lot for
challenge.
work. Is there any one thing, or maybe a couple things if you want, that you can't live without on job site, or in your travels, or anything like that? Any gadgets, gizmos, anything that you
I
you
think
take with
my,
you on every event?
I think, let's see, I always take a laser disto with me for some reason. Um, and actually, it wasn't until recently that I decided to actually take that out of my backpack. And it was only within the last couple of months. And that thing has ran with me for years. And I don't know why. It's that random thing that I always have with me. And somebody's like, man, I wonder how, you just walk out to a building or a site survey and you're not even thinking about it. And you're just like, somebody's like, oh, I wonder how far that is. You're like, hold on, I actually got a tool in my bag for that. And it's one of those people like, really? Like, it's been with me for years. I don't know why. Really weird thing. But outside of that, I have to say Evernote has been my lifesaver in so many ways as far as like software based. Um, it keeps me on track. I can create all kinds of notes. I have to note everything when I'm working on 7, 8, tours at a time, and projects at a time. Uh, Over various months, you lose track. You're like, which phone call am I on right now? Which email
Right.
chain is this? And so you have to go back and look at those. And it keeps me organized. And that's really, to me, has been the most important thing, probably, I would say, in my life, is being able to have access to something that's multi-platform. And Evernote's been really awesome to me. So I'd say
Cool.
that's my biggest go-to.
Cool. Very cool. Yeah, that's awesome. And I think going back to your disto story, I think as a gearhead myself, whenever I buy something new and someone's like, "Oh, I'd really like to do this," hold on, I got this. Like, it's there's a sense of accomplishment when you're like, "Oh, wait, I just bought the perfect tool for this job. I need to use it." Don't rent it from me. Don't do anything. I don't care. I just want to show that I used it and it was worth it.
It's been weighing down my pants or my backpack forever, but I get to use it, so we're cool.
Exactly. I'm the same way. Just like, oh wait, I have the disto. I have this. Whatever. So that's super cool. So what inspires you, Greg? I'm gonna go into some more more thought provoking questions.
Wow, that's a deep one. What inspires me? I would say my biggest inspiration, kind of almost sounds negative, but it's a concern of failure. That's my inspiration in a lot of ways, is to do better, get better at things and move, and constantly grow, and push the boundaries, learn more, things like that. And, inspiration to me is just kind of the will to want to grow, and that inspires me when people want to grow, and expand and look at a bigger picture and move into larger scale stuff. That to me is inspiring. I'm like, oh wow, that's amazing that you're going to push yourself that much harder. So that's me, really kind of, I guess, inspires me,
Yeah.
and that just kind of builds me to go better.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. The more I talk to you, the more I feel very similar about a lot of your answers. I mean, because those are a lot of the same things that I genuinely agree with, and I've always felt like I would go far in life if I just cared about my job, cared about what I do, and really valued putting forth a good effort in whatever I do. If it's working at McDonald's or if it's, doing a multi-million-dollar show, I think the level of care for me never changes. And I think that definitely goes along with the fear of failure. Like, I won't let myself fail. And if I were to quote unquote fail, I'm going to learn something and grow from that, which is an inspiration in and of its own. So I think that's a really important thing too. All right, so I am trying to switch up my format a little bit and go with some really out of the box questions to keep people on their toes. And so the ones I have today, and they are really out of the box, but I think it's fascinating. I've been watching a lot of podcasts and video shows, and I think one of the interesting things a lot of people do is they just will throw a random question at their guest and just see how they respond. And I think you get some interesting answers back. So here's the question today. You've been given an elephant. You cannot sell it or give it away. What do you do?
Well, I definitely have to take it for a ride first. You can't argue with riding with an elephant. What do I do with it? I think I turn it into a cash cow or a cash elephant. I would figure out a way to utilize its manure and make some money.
Very nice.
Because why not? It's got a lot of it. I'm going to do something with that thing. If I'm going to put it in, I'm going to get it back out. I'm going to turn it into something.
I know it's a super, like, I was trying to look for questions and this one came up and I was just like, I don't even know how I would respond to it. It's just so out of the box. It's so strange. But hey, we're gonna try it out and see what happens. On
That's
the
a
last
good one. I
show,
like it.
I asked the guest, or one of my last shows, I asked the guest if he could bring 3 people to dinner, dead or alive. Who would they be? So I'll throw that one at you as well.
Oh man, 3 people to dinner. Uh, Jeff Goldblum, because why not? Dead or alive? Well, we'd have to look at Lincoln a little bit because I can't. You got to hit the guy up a little bit. I mean, you just got to say hey. And then who else would I want? Oh, Douglas Adams. I'm a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy fan, so I gotta talk to Douglas Adams. So
Very cool. Very cool.
just why not?
Absolutely. I think it's always super fascinating because I think some of these questions really get into the personality of people more, and you learn a lot about people from just like super obscure random answers or random questions. I mean, so thank you for.
I got one for you. If we're
Okay.
so I'm gonna
Yeah.
change
Let's
them
do
right
it.
back to you. 'Cause this
Let's
came
do
up.
it.
I had a guy ask me recently if you could try eating any animal out there, dead or alive, extinct or not, or even if it wasn't even if it's hypothetical, what would it be?
Any animal. I mean, my gut, my first instinct is to go dinosaur, but I feel like that's too cliche of an answer. So I don't know. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think a little more outside the box
You got to
than
think a
just
little more
saying
outside the box.
than
I
just
know.
saying
Like,
dinosaur.
I'm not there yet.
No, I
Can
mean,
you name what kind of dinosaur? I mean, they might have different textures.
okay, okay. Let's go with a Stegosaurus.
Oh, okay.
I
That's
was
one
gonna
of my
go
favorite
T-Rex.
dinosaurs.
I was gonna go T-Rex, but I think I'm gonna go Stegosaurus. And it's not that I want them to be dead, although they are dead now. I don't think I would take pleasure in killing the dinosaur, but I would probably eat it.
Interesting.
So,
Interesting. What do you think? What do you think it would taste like in comparison? What would everybody says it tastes like chicken, but what would you think it would taste like?
lamb.
Lamb. Oh, that's a good one. I like it. All right.
I don't know why. I mean, I don't know
There's
if
no
I
wrong
can.
answer, man. How are we gonna prove it?
Yeah, I don't think I can back up any of my answers, but all right. So my last random question. This one's probably easier, but if you won the lottery today, how would your life change?
Um. Well, how much are we talking?
Okay.
Yeah, see, that changes the numbers because $1 million
Sure,
doesn't go very far.
sure. Let's say 5 million.
5 million. Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. Fair enough. For 5 million, okay. How would my life change? Well, I mean, you got to buy yourself $1 million house at $5 million, and let's just say we're not talking about the fact I'm going to lose half of it in taxes. Let's just assume that I got 5 million. Yeah, sure. So I got to buy a house. It probably has way more rooms than I need, but not over the top. It just needs to be fancy. Outside of that, I'd probably buy some cool toys. I'd probably get a boat. I don't know that I would change a whole lot. I don't know that I would even stop working. I would be more selective in my work. I think I might even do something like jump on the road or something just for fun because I could go out for 6 weeks and be like, that was a cool 6 weeks this year.
Yeah, for sure.
Guess I don't have to work for the rest of the year. It's like summer camp or something. But
I'm
yeah, I don't. I
I'm
don't know.
certainly not the type of person that would stop working either. I would need to do something. I can't just retire and live a retired life now.
Yeah,
Certainly.
retirement life at this age is just not. Yeah, I like time off, but man, this time off lately has been too much. I'm ready to go back to work. I can't wait to go back to work.
Me too,
We
man.
all can't wait.
I need the chaos back. The
Yeah.
work chaos. I have plenty of
The work
chaos, but I need some work chaos. So
Absolutely.
back to real questions for the last question. What's next for Greg? Do you have any? What do you want to do next? Is there anything you want to do crazy this year? Or?
My next adventure in life, I would probably say, is man, what is next for Greg? Greg's just going to kind of continue to figure it out, and live. This year has been so crazy that it's hard to predict the next. Um, I would say that, my next thing is, obviously, I'm just figuring out how to roll with the punches along with everybody else in this crazy world right now. And hopefully, I continue to build a lucrative career, and help others. More importantly to me, one thing I really like about this business is what I do is that I'm helping other people with employment, and other people have jobs and get their divisions out there. And that means a lot to me. And I really like that feeling of, it feels like I'm being helpful. Even though it's my job, it still feels helpful. And I like that feeling. So I think that's, I'm just going to keep focusing on that. Focusing on my family, obviously. I have a 1-year-old, I have one 3-year-old, not a 1-year-old. So focusing on my family, and just making the best of things, and I think I'm going to focus a little bit on me. And that's, I think, what's going to be next for Greg. And just keep, fingers crossed, we're all going to be working here again, and the industry's going to pick up, and we're all going to be back at it, high-fiving and, having drinks at the bar.
Absolutely. And I think that's the most important thing we can do right now is just, I think what this whole pandemic has really showed, and for me at least, part of the reason why I want to do the show is I want to keep and build relationships with people that I feel like I haven't been good at recently. And so I think it's cool to talk to people and stay connected, and it keeps all of us sane. And without a lot of the social interaction that we're used to, like it's easy to just stay home all day and not talk to people and do all that. And I think this is my way of trying to help myself certainly stay sane, but trying to help others with staying connected to the industry and to our peers and colleagues and all that kind of stuff. And I want to try to help people as much as I can as well. And this is the best avenue I could think of at the time to try and do that. Because I think there's something from every show that, regardless of what industry you're in, there's tidbits of knowledge that you can gain from anyone. And so I'm trying to just put that out there as best I can and make it available. I know I've got plenty of tidbits from every single person I've talked to about, whether it's anything from, hey, I might like to do that for a career one day, or, what can I do now to work towards that, or just, life tips. Evernote is a good one that I have never used, so I will probably check that out for myself. But yeah, just random little things I think that make you think and keep us all on our toes.
Absolutely. So, yeah, keeping in communication with people at this point in this day and age, and where we're not allowed to interact, and we're not out, hitting the festivals and the tours, where you're meeting up with people going, oh, hey, I haven't seen you in 6 months, a year, or 2 years, whatever. Yeah, I mean, this is it. This is what we've got right now. We need to keep that going. It's been fantastic. Just keeping in contact. The world is grown and shrunk all at the same time for us, and I think that's really cool.
Right. And I mean, when we do get back to work, like not being able to like shake hands and give people hugs, and like whether that actually goes down that road or not, but that you just feel so disconnected from people, and it's going to be a challenge, I think, relationally, to just jump back into it, headlong and get back to where we were. Yeah. So I want to try to be as social as possible, and keep myself on a routine and try and keep some sort of normalcy in our lives.
Yeah,
so
good for you.
Thank you for thank you for doing this today, Greg. I really appreciate it, and I hope to see you one day soon in the future, somewhere in the world. It's funny how we like, people may not see each other for a long time, and then will like randomly be at the same show like halfway across the world, and you're like, oh hey, what are you doing here? Like, it's weird how sometimes that works out. But
yeah, that's the best. That and meeting up with them, yeah, at an airport in the most
yes.
random location. You're like, seriously?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. You're walking to your gate and you walk by your buddy who lives, 1,000 miles away from you, and you're like, oh, I didn't think I'd meet you here in the Boston airport that neither of us live at.
Yeah, exactly.
But
of all places to be.
It's
a great industry, and thank you.
Of course, thank you for doing this, and I really appreciate it, and so thank you for doing that.
Yeah, thank you.